Hey guys, what's up? Noah the Nintendo Nerd here, and happy belated Halloween. In honor of the holiday, I chose a more spooky game for my first game review. So today, we're going to take a look at
The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask for the Nintendo 64. So for those of you who don't already know, Majora's Mask is a direct sequel to the masterpiece that is Ocarina of Time, something we don't see often in the Zelda series.
You can still enjoy Majora's Mask without playing Ocarina of Time, but who hasn't played Ocarina of Time?
Our story begins with young Link riding his horse, Epona, through a forest in search of his missing fairy friend, Navi. Before long, two fairies and a kid with a creepy mask come along and steal Epona and Link's ocarina. This does not roll well with Link, so he chases after the kid. When Link finds the thieves, the troublemaker turns him into a Deku scrub.
Well, that sucks.
The kid runs off, leaving one of the fairies behind. Blaming Link for the incident, the fairy, whose name is Tattle, decides to accompany Link in order to find her brother. It turns out that Link has found his way into an entirely different world called Termina.
It's worth mentioning that the name Termina comes from the word terminus, which means ending point. That's pretty cool.
Link soon meets the happy masked salesman, who requests that Link bring him his stolen Majora's Mask, a mask that makes its users do evil things. It turns out that the kid who stole Link's ocarina is the thief of the Majora's Mask as well.
Okay, so Link has to go find a kid and return the mask to the happy mask salesman. That doesn't sound too hard, does it?
The catch is that Link only has 3 days to do this. Why? Because the flippin' moon is falling.
That is as far as I want to go into the story because I do not want to spoil it. All I can say about the story is that it's very interesting. It's darker than most Zelda games and it always keeps you engaged.
Now, let's move on to the gameplay. The controls are the same as they were in Ocarina of Time, so I'm not going to go into detail about that. The screen layout looks like it was practically taken out of Ocarina of Time, which is not a bad thing. One of the first things you will notice when you play the game is the clock on the bottom of the screen. This clock is one of the most important parts of your adventure, and it is part of what makes Majora's Mask so unique. The entire game runs on this clock. All of the NPCs do different things at different times of the day. For example, at midnight on the first night in North Clock Town, an old lady will get robbed by a thief. If you are there, you can save the old lady, and in return, she gives you the bomb mask. More on those masks later. Anyways, after 3 days have passed, the moon will fall on Clock Town, and everyone, including you, will die.
In other words, it's a pretty harsh game over.
Don't worry though, you have a song you can play on your ocarina that can take you back to the first day. The downside of that is that when you warp back, you lose all of your item ammo and rupees. You will be using this a lot.
The clock is one of my favorite parts of the whole game. Having all the characters on the schedule is really fun to see, and I love only having 3 days to complete your task. Seeing how the characters change within those 3 days is really interesting and, in my opinion, makes some of the most interesting characters yet in the Zelda series. Now let's talk about the masks. Hell, the game is called Majora's Mask, so I'm probably going to talk about them.
Link has many masks that he can find to aid him on his adventure. There are 24 masks in all, but you are only required to have 6. For example, wearing the bunny hood makes Link run and jump faster, while the stone masks makes you completely invisible to enemies.
While masks like these are optional, getting them and finding out new ways to use them is part of what makes the game so much fun.
Then, we have the 3 main masks. As you progress through the story, you will obtain the Deku, Goron, and Zora masks. These masks completely change you into the species they represent. Knowing how to use them is essential in order to beat the game, and they are a lot of fun to use.
The masks are definitely one of the most important parts of the game. If you collect all 24 masks, well, I don't want to spoil it, but the reward is awesome. Now, time for the dungeons. You can't have a Zelda game without dungeons.
Majora's Mask has a total of 4 dungeons. Although this may not be a lot, the dungeons themselves make up for it. Each dungeon focuses around the mask you got in that area, and challenges you to use it in ways you hadn't used it before.
These dungeons are huge, and they can get very difficult to complete, especially the last one. The bosses can get pretty hard too. They really test your abilities on using your masks. Personally, the first boss, Idalwa, scared the crap out of me when I first played the game.
I mean, just look at him, dancing around, chanting his name. I don't like you.
Majora's Mask takes all of what the N64 has to offer and uses it perfectly.
The graphics are some of the best on the system. Even though it looks almost identical to Ocarina of Time, little things, like the smoothness of how Link runs, are changed for the better.
The environments are beautiful as well. Clock Town, the main town of the game, is beautiful and very detailed, along with the shops and dungeons too. And we can't forget about the music.
Music is one of the biggest parts of any Zelda game. The music in Majora's Mask is no exception. The overworld, Termina Field, brought back the classic tradition of having the main Zelda theme remixed throughout the area, like many previous games did. This rendition is beautiful. I have to mention the music for when you only have 5 minutes remaining on the clock, too. This music is very sad and scary in a way, and when put with those certain situations,
Andrew and Cafe,
it can really get to you. Just listen to it.
If you haven't caught on yet, the music in Majora's Mask is amazing. It really pulls you into the game and makes for an unforgettable experience. The Ocarina Song's Oath to Order and the Song of Healing originated from this game and are some of my favorites in the whole entire series. To conclude, Majora's Mask is one of my favorite Zelda games of all time. The story is amazing, the characters can go into great detail, and the masks are really, really fun to use. Personally, I would even say that, in some ways, Majora's Mask is better than Ocarina of Time. Don't get me wrong, I am not bashing Ocarina of Time. Ocarina is one of my favorite games of all time. I just think that Majora's Mask took what Ocarina had to offer and then just made it 100 times better. So, that said, I give The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask a 10 out of 10. This game is amazing. One of the best games on the Nintendo 64. And one of the best games in the entire Zelda series. If you haven't played Majora's Mask, you have a few ways to play it. First of all, you can get it on the N64, obviously, but that can get pretty hard to find nowadays. You can also find it on the GameCube, a part of the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition, which includes 3 other classic Zelda games. But this game is pretty rare. By far, the easiest way to get Majora's Mask is on the Wii Shop channel, where you can download it for only 10 bucks. It is worth mentioning that I, along with many other Zelda fans, are hoping for a 3D remake of Majora's Mask on the 3DS. Nintendo has not denied the idea, so we are very hopeful. One fan even made their own trailer for what Majora's Mask could look like on the Wii U. It is beautiful. You can find a link to it in the description below. Anyways, I would like to thank you so much for watching. I would appreciate it if you would respect my opinions if you think differently. Hate is gonna get us nowhere. If you are new to my channel and enjoyed the video, please subscribe. It helps me out a lot. I have a Twitter that I'm almost always on. You can follow me on there to find out what games I'm playing, what videos I'm planning on making next, and what I'm up to. You can find a link to that in the description. Once again, I'd like to thank you for watching, and until next time, take it easy.